Captain Jinho stood at the window of his ship and looked at the planet below. It was beautiful. The whole planet seemed to glow with a soft purple light. This was Valaria, home to one of the oldest and most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. And today, Earth was making its first official contact with them. Jinho pulled at his formal uniform collar. It was too tight. He had been wearing it for 6 hours already, and the day was not even close to being over. His crew had worked for 3 years to reach this moment. Earth had finally developed faster than light travel, and now humanity could join the other species among the stars. "Captain, they're ready for you," said Hana, his younger sister, and the ship's lead scientist. She studied alien life forms, and she looked just as uncomfortable in her formal dress as he felt. Jinho nodded and walked toward the transport shuttle. His best friend Taeho was already there, checking weapon systems. Taeho was the ship's tactical officer, and he didn't trust aliens. "Not yet. Relax," Jinho said to him. "This is a peaceful meeting." "That's what they always say before things go wrong," Taeho muttered, but he stepped away from the weapons console. The shuttle took them down to the planet's surface. When they landed, Jinho saw the Valerian welcoming committee. There were dozens of them, all wearing long, flowing robes in shades of purple and silver. They stood perfectly still, like statues. Their skin was pale blue, and their eyes were large and completely black. They looked almost human, but not quite. At the front of the group stood a tall Valerian woman. She wore a crown of silver metal that seemed to float just above her head. Her expression was completely neutral, showing no emotion at all. "I am Princess Yura," she said in perfect English. The translator devices worked well. "I will be your guide and liaison during your stay on Valaria. Welcome to our world." Jinho bowed, as they had practiced. "Thank you, Princess. I am Captain Jinho of Earth. We are honored to be here." What followed were the longest and most boring hours of Jinho's life. The Valarians took them through a formal ceremony that involved standing in specific positions, making specific gestures at specific times, and listening to speeches in a language that sounded like wind chimes. The translator gave him the meanings, but they were all very formal and very long. Every movement had to be precise. Every word had to be chosen carefully. The Valarians never smiled. They never laughed. They barely seemed to breathe. It was like attending a funeral that lasted forever. By the time the formal ceremony ended, Jinho's feet hurt, his back hurt, and his head hurt from concentrating so hard on not making a mistake. The Valerians led them to a guest house where the human delegation would stay. It was beautiful but cold, all made of smooth white stone. "You have 2 hours to rest before the evening reception," Princess Yura informed them in her emotionless voice. Then she and the other Valerians left. "I need to walk," Jinho announced. Hana nodded. "The gardens are supposed to be amazing. I saw them from the ship." But when Jinho got to the gardens, Hana had disappeared to examine some alien plants more closely, and Taeho had gone to check the perimeter for security threats. Jinho found himself alone among strange and beautiful plants. The garden was peaceful. There were trees with silver leaves that made soft musical sounds when the wind touched them. Flowers grew in spiral patterns, and their petals changed colors slowly. A fountain in the center made patterns of water that seemed to defy gravity. For the first time all day, Jinho relaxed. He walked to a small plant near a bench. It had tiny blue flowers that reminded him of forget-me-nots from Earth. His grandmother had grown them in her garden when he was young. Jinho smiled at the memory. Without thinking, he spoke out loud in Korean, then realized and switched to English. "Hey, sweetie," he said to the little plant, his voice soft and warm. "You remind me of home." It was something his grandmother used to do. Talking to her plants. She said it helped them grow. Jinho had always thought it was silly, but now, millions of miles from Earth, he understood it better. It made him feel less alone. "Yes, dear." Jinho jumped and spun around. Princess Yura stood behind a white stone column. She had been there the whole time. Her face was no longer completely neutral. She was smiling. It was a small smile. But it was there. Jinho's heart was pounding. How long had she been watching him? Princess. I'm sorry. I didn't know you were there. I was just talking to the plant. It's a human thing. We sometimes talk to plants. I know it seems strange. Yura walked closer. Her smile grew a little wider. It is not strange. It is interesting. She looked at the small blue flowers. You called it sweetie. This is a term of affection in your language. Yes? Oh, yes, Jinho said, feeling embarrassed. But I was just being silly. Humans sometimes use those words casually, even with plants, or animals, or things. It doesn't mean anything serious. I see, Yura said, though her expression suggested she might not see at all. In Valarian culture, terms of endearment are very significant. They are only used between bonded pairs. Bonded pairs? Jinho asked. What you would call married couples. Or those who intend to become married. Yura tilted her head slightly, studying him. But I understand humans have different customs. Your species is known for being very expressive. Jinho laughed nervously. Yes, that's true. We're probably too casual sometimes. I hope I didn't offend you. You did not offend me, Yura said. She looked at him with her large black eyes, and for a moment, Jinho thought he saw something in them. Curiosity, maybe, or interest. I find human behavior fascinating. You smile so easily. You laugh. You speak with such warmth even to plants. My people are not like this. Your people seem very dignified, Jinho offered. Dignified. Yura repeated the word as if tasting it. Yes. We are dignified. We are formal. We are controlled. She paused. We are not warm. There was something sad in her voice. Just for a moment. Then her face became neutral again, the smile disappearing like it had never been there. I should return to my duties, she said. The evening reception begins in 1 hour. Please be punctual. Of course, Princess. She turned to leave, then stopped and looked back at him. Captain Jinho, you may call me Yura when we are in private conversation. I give you this permission. Before Jinho could respond, she was gone, walking away through the silver trees. Jinho stood there, confused. Had something just happened? He wasn't sure. He looked down at the little blue flowers. I think I might have just confused an alien princess, he said to the plant. The plant, of course, said nothing. But somewhere in the garden, hidden behind the trees, Yura was still smiling. 3 weeks had passed since that first day on Valaria. Jinho had settled into a routine of meetings, cultural exchanges, and trying very hard not to break any alien customs. It was exhausting, but also exciting. Earth was really doing this. They were really becoming part of the galactic community. Princess Yura attended every meeting. At first, Jinho thought this was normal. But Hana pointed out that none of the other alien species had such high-ranking representatives at daily discussions. She seems very interested in our culture, Hana said one morning over breakfast. She was eating something that looked like purple eggs, but tasted like strawberries. Everything on Valaria was a surprise. She's the liaison, Jinho said. It's her job to be interested, Taeho snorted. She's interested in you, not our culture. Jinho nearly choked on his drink. What? No. Don't be ridiculous. I'm not being ridiculous. I'm being observant. Taeho leaned back in his chair. Every time you enter a room, she watches you. When you speak, she listens more carefully than she listens to anyone else. And yesterday, when you called her dear by accident, she actually blushed. I didn't even know Valarians could blush. I called her what? Jinho's mind raced back to the previous day. There had been a moment when he was leaving a meeting and had said goodbye. Had he really said that? Oh no. I was just being polite. It's automatic. I say things like that to everyone. I know that, Tejo said. You called me Han last week. And I've known you for 10 years. But they don't know that. Hana was frowning now, her scientist brain working. Tejo might be right. I've been studying Valerian social customs. They're very specific about language. Especially about personal terms. What does that mean? Jinho asked, feeling worried. It means, Hana said slowly, that every time you call someone sweetie, honey, dear, or anything like that, they think you're declaring romantic interest. The purple eggs suddenly felt very heavy in Jinho's stomach. Over the next few days, Jinho tried to be more careful with his words, but it was hard. Being friendly and casual was just part of who he was. When a Valerian servant brought him tea, he automatically said, "Thanks, hun." When Yura showed him a new part of the palace, he responded with, "That's beautiful, sweetie." Each time, he saw the Valerian observers exchange glances, and Yura's small smiles became more frequent. The situation got worse when the Valerian emperor invited the human delegation to a formal dinner. Jinho wore his best uniform. The dining hall was enormous, with a ceiling so high it disappeared into shadows. Hundreds of Valerians sat at long tables, all watching the humans with their expressionless faces. Jinho was seated next to Yura. On his other side sat a Valerian official named Kale, who was some kind of cultural advisor. The dinner was 14 courses. Each course had specific rules about how to eat it, which utensil to use, and what to say. Jinho felt like he was taking a very difficult test, while very hungry. Between the 7th and 8th courses, Kale spoke to him. "Captain Jinho, the court is very pleased with your developing relationship with Princess Yura." Jinho blinked. "I'm sorry, what relationship?" Kale's expression didn't change, but his tone became slightly confused. "Your courtship bond. It is moving along well, we think. The princess seems content." "Courtship?" Jinho's voice came out too loud. Several Valarians turned to look at him. He lowered his voice. "I'm not courting anyone." Jinho. Now Kale looked genuinely puzzled. "But you have used terms of bonding. Multiple times. In front of witnesses. I was just being friendly." "Friendly?" Kale repeated the word like it was foreign. "This is not a term we use. You declared your intentions. She accepted. This is how bonding begins among your people." "Yes? No." "Well, sort of. But not like this. I call everyone those things. It's casual. It doesn't mean anything serious." Kyle was silent for a long moment. Then, he said, "You should speak with Princess Yura about this. Privately." The rest of the dinner was torture. Jinho could barely eat. He kept glancing at Yura, who seemed calm and composed as always. Did she really think they were courting? How had this happened? After dinner, Yura asked him to walk with her in the palace gardens. It was night, and the silver trees glowed softly in the darkness. The sky above was filled with stars Jinho didn't recognize. "You seem troubled," Yura said. Her voice was gentle. "Yura, I need to ask you something." Jinho stopped walking and faced her. "Do you think we're courting?" She tilted her head. "Yes. Is that not what has been happening?" "No. I mean, no. I didn't intend that. I'm so sorry. There's been a huge misunderstanding." For the first time since he'd met her, Yura's perfect composure cracked. Her eyes widened. "A misunderstanding? The things I've been saying, calling you sweetie and dear and hun, those are just casual terms. I use them with everyone. They're friendly, but they're not romantic. I didn't mean to suggest anything else." Yura stood very still. Too still. "I see. I'm really sorry. I should have learned more about your customs before I came here. I never meant to confuse you or give you the wrong impression. The wrong impression? Yura repeated. Her voice had gone flat, emotionless again. But Jinho could see her hands trembling slightly. So, you feel nothing for me? I think you're wonderful, Jinho said quickly. You're intelligent and patient. And you've been so kind to us. But I barely know you. And I'm just a ship captain. You're a princess. This whole thing is just a big cultural confusion. Yura looked away from him. In Valarian culture, we do not show emotions freely. We control them. We hide them. Because if we do not, they overwhelm us. We feel things very deeply, Captain Jinho. Perhaps more deeply than humans do. I didn't know that, Jinho said softly. For 3 weeks, I have been feeling things I have never felt before. Yura's voice was still controlled, but barely. You smiled at me. You laughed near me. You spoke to me with warmth. No one has ever done that before. I thought. I hoped. She stopped talking. Jinho saw something glistening in her eyes. Were those tears? I thought I was learning to feel the way you feel, she continued. The way humans feel. Free and open and warm. And I liked it. Yura. But it was all a mistake. Now her voice rose, losing control. You were not being warm to me. You are warm to everyone. To plants. To servants. To your crew. It meant nothing. That's not fair, Jinho said. Just because I'm friendly to everyone doesn't mean those feelings aren't real. But they are not special. Yura's voice cracked. She was shouting now. Something Valarians apparently never did. I thought I was special to you. She turned and ran, her silver robes flowing behind her. Jinho stood alone in the garden, feeling terrible. Behind a tree, Hana had been watching. She came out now, her face serious. That could have gone better, she said. You think? Jinho sat down on a bench and put his head in his hands. I just made an alien princess cry. This is a diplomatic disaster. Maybe, Hana said. Or maybe it's something else. What do you mean? Did you mean what you said? That you feel nothing for her? Jinho was quiet for a long time. I don't know. I like her. I like talking to her. I like making her smile. But this all happened so fast, and I never meant to hurt her. Then you need to figure out what you really feel, Hana said. Because tomorrow, the Emperor is going to hear about this. And when he does, things are going to get complicated. She was right. Things were already complicated. And they were about to get much worse. The Emperor's summons came at dawn. Jinho, Hana, and Teiho were brought to the throne room, where the Emperor of Valaria sat on a chair made of floating crystal. He was an imposing figure, taller than his daughter, with a crown that glowed like a star. Princess Yura stood beside him. She would not look at Jinho. Captain Jinho of Earth, the Emperor's voice echoed through the chamber. You have created quite a situation. Your Majesty, I deeply apologize, Jinho began. But the Emperor raised his hand. I am not angry. I am intrigued. The Emperor leaned forward. My daughter tells me there has been a misunderstanding, that humans use terms of affection casually, without meaning. Is this true? Yes, Your Majesty. It's part of our culture. We're very informal compared to your people. Fascinating. The Emperor was quiet for a moment. In 3 weeks, you have made my daughter laugh, cry, shout, feel more emotions than she has shown in 3 years. And you did this by accident? Jinho didn't know how to answer that. Humans are strange, the Emperor continued. But perhaps that is what the galaxy needs. Strange new perspectives. He stood up. I have decided to present humanity to the Grand Conclave. Hana gasped. The Grand Conclave? But that's only for established civilizations. It is. But I believe humanity deserves a chance. The Conclave meets in 1 month. You and Princess Yura will present Earth's case together, as joint representatives. Together? Jinho and Yura spoke at the same time, then looked at each other and quickly looked away. Yes. If you can work together, despite your misunderstanding, then you will prove that humans can cooperate with other species. If you cannot, then perhaps humanity is not ready for the galactic community. It was a test. A very public, very important test. The next 3 weeks were awkward. Yura and Jinho had to prepare a presentation together, but they could barely speak to each other. When they did talk, it was stiff and formal. All the warmth was gone. Hana tried to help. You both need to talk about what happened. There's nothing to talk about, Jinho said. I explained everything. It was a misunderstanding. And you broke her heart, Hana replied. That's not nothing. Taeho was less sympathetic. Focus on the mission. Earth's entire future depends on this conclave. Your personal feelings can wait. But Jinho was realizing that his feelings weren't as simple as he thought. He missed Yura's smiles. He missed their conversations. He missed the way she looked at him like he was special. Maybe he had been falling for her without realizing it. The Grand Conclave was held on a massive space station called Unity. It orbited a neutron star, and ships from hundreds of different species filled the docking bays. Jinho had never seen so many different kinds of aliens in one place. There were beings made of gas that floated in containment fields. There were rock-like creatures that communicated through vibrations. There were species that looked almost human, and others that looked like nightmares. And all of them were staring at the humans. They're judging us, Taeho muttered. Let them judge, Hana said. We'll prove ourselves. The presentation hall was enormous. Thousands of aliens sat in seats that circled a central platform. Jinho and Yura walked to the platform together, not touching, barely looking at each other. An alien called the Arbiter opened the session. It was a tall being, covered in silver scales, with too many eyes. We are here to decide if humanity should join the galactic community. Princess Yura of Valaria has sponsored them. Captain Jinho will speak for his species. Jinho stepped forward. He had prepared a speech about Earth's achievements, their technology, their desire for peace. But as he looked at the thousands of alien faces, all of them cold and judging, the words felt hollow. He started speaking anyway. He talked about human history, about their art and science and exploration. But he could feel the audience growing bored. These aliens had heard it all before from hundreds of other species. Then an alien from the audience stood up. It was insectoid, with clicking mandibles. Why should we accept humans? Your species is violent. Your history is full of wars. You fight each other constantly. Jinho wanted to argue, but he couldn't. It was true. Another alien spoke. This one resembling a floating jellyfish. Your emotions make you unstable. You cannot control yourselves. You will bring chaos to the galaxy. More aliens stood up, each one listing human flaws. Too emotional, too violent, too unpredictable, too young, too primitive. Jinho felt the presentation falling apart. He looked at Yura for help, but she stood still and silent, her face neutral. Then, without warning, alarms began blaring throughout the station. We are under attack, the Arbiter announced. Unknown hostiles have breached the outer defenses. All delegates remain calm and follow evacuation protocols, but nobody moved. The aliens looked at each other, waiting for someone to take charge. Protocols said they needed to form a committee to decide how to respond. That could take hours. They didn't have hours. Jinho could see on the wall displays that hostile ships were already docking. Whoever was attacking, they were inside the station. Taeho was already moving. Hana, get the civilians to the safe zones. Jinho, we need to reach the defense systems. We don't have authorization, one of the alien delegates protested. We don't have time, Jinho shouted. He turned to Yura. Can you help us? Yura looked uncertain. Going against protocol was unthinkable for a Valerian. But then, she saw the fear in the other delegates' faces. She made a decision. "Follow me," she said. "I know this station." They ran through corridors while explosions rocked the station. Other delegates were starting to panic now. Jinho saw humans from his crew helping aliens evacuate, not waiting for permission or protocols. Hana was using her medical knowledge to treat injured delegates. Even though she'd never studied alien biology before, she just figured it out as she went, improvising solutions. Taeho reached the defense systems but found them damaged. "They sabotaged it," he reported. "It's completely fried." Taeho. "It's completely fried. Can you fix it?" Jinho asked. "Not according to the manual, but the manual is stupid." Taeho pulled open panels and started rewiring things in ways that definitely violated every safety protocol. Yura watched him work, fascinated. "You are just changing things without knowing if it will work. That's how humans solve problems," Taeho said. "We try stuff and see what happens." An explosion nearby made them all duck. The attackers were getting closer. "I need more time," Taeho said. Jinho looked at Yura. "Can you rally your people? We need to slow down the attackers. Valerians do not fight without proper authorization from—" "There's no time for authorization." Jinho grabbed her shoulders. "Yura, I know you're scared of breaking the rules, but sometimes you have to. Please, trust me." Jinho breaking the forter. Jinho breaking the rules. Yura stared at him. Then something changed in her expression. She nodded. She activated a communication system and began speaking in Valarian. But she wasn't using the formal, emotionless tone anymore. She was speaking with passion, with feeling. She told her people that protocols didn't matter right now. That doing the right thing was more important than doing the correct thing. That she believed in them, and they needed to believe in themselves. It was the kind of speech no Valerian princess had ever given, and it worked. Valerian guards throughout the station began fighting back. They stopped waiting for orders and started acting. Combined with the human crew's chaotic improvisation, they began pushing back the attackers. Taeho got the defense systems partly working. It wasn't pretty, and it definitely wasn't by the book, but it worked. The hostile ships outside began taking damage and retreating. Within an hour, the attack was over. The hostiles fled, and Unity Station was safe. In the aftermath, the conclave delegates slowly gathered again. They looked at the humans differently now. They had seen what Jinho tried to explain with words. Humans didn't give up. They adapted. They helped others without being asked. They turned chaos into solutions, and they had helped Yura find her voice. The Arbiter spoke. "We have seen enough. Humanity has proven its value." But Jinho barely heard it. He was looking at Yura, who was looking back at him. They had saved the station together. They had trusted each other when it mattered most. Maybe, Jinho thought, they needed to have a real conversation about their feelings. The conclave hall was different now. The neat rows of seats were disrupted. Some delegates were injured. Others were shaken. The attack had changed everything. The Arbiter called the session back to order. Humanity has demonstrated courage and quick thinking during the crisis. However, we must still address the original concerns. Captain Jinyu, you may continue your presentation. Jinho walked back to the center platform. His uniform was torn. There was dust in his hair from the explosions. He definitely didn't look like someone making a diplomatic speech. But maybe that was okay. He looked at the thousands of alien faces watching him. Then he looked at Yura, who stood at the edge of the platform. She met his eyes for the first time in weeks. "I had a speech prepared," Jinho said. "It was full of facts about Earth, our technology, our achievements, our potential. But that's not really what you want to know, is it?" The hall was silent. "You want to know if humans are stable enough for the galactic community. You want to know if we can be trusted. And honestly, I understand why you're worried. We are emotional. We are messy. We do break rules sometimes. Some of the aliens shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't the speech they expected. But let me tell you what really happened today, Jinho continued. When the attack started, what did humans do? We didn't form committees. We didn't wait for authorization. We saw people in danger. And we helped. We didn't care if they were human or alien. We didn't care if it was our job or not. We just did what needed to be done. He gestured to where Hana was sitting, her medical kit still in her hands. My sister treated injured aliens using medical knowledge from Earth. She had never seen their biology before. She just figured it out because someone needed help. Then he pointed to where Tejo stood by the wall. My friend fixed defense systems that were supposedly beyond repair. He broke every safety protocol doing it. But it worked, and it saved lives. And Princess Yura, Jinho turned to her. She gave a speech that broke every rule of Valerian culture. She spoke with emotion, with passion. She led her people not through protocol but through inspiration. Yura's eyes widened. She hadn't expected him to praise her. So yes, Jinho said, turning back to the conclave. Humans are emotional. But that's not a weakness. It's our strength. We feel things deeply. And those feelings make us act. Make us care. Make us try. When logic says, we should give up, an alien delegate stood up. It was one of the jellyfish-like beings. Emotions also make you fight each other. Make you hate. Make you destroy. That's true, Jinho admitted. We're not perfect. We have wars. We have conflicts. We hurt each other. But we also forgive. We also learn. We also love. He took a breath. This next part was harder. 3 weeks ago, I made a mistake. I accidentally courted an alien princess without realizing it. I used words in my language that meant something different in hers. And when I found out, I panicked. I tried to explain it away. I hurt someone I was starting to care about. Yura's hands clenched at her sides, but she said nothing. I told myself it was just a misunderstanding, Jinho continued. That I was just being friendly the way humans are friendly. And that was true. But it wasn't the whole truth. The hall was completely silent now. Every alien was listening. The whole truth is that I was scared, Jinho said. Scared of my own feelings. Scared of the differences between us. Scared of failing. And so I took the easy way out. I blamed it all on cultural confusion. He walked toward Yura. She watched him approach. Her expression carefully neutral. But her eyes showed everything. Yura, when I talked to that plant in the garden and called it sweetie, I was missing home. I was missing the warmth and simplicity of Earth. And then you appeared, and you smiled. Jinho, Yura whispered. But he continued. Over these weeks, I've said sweet things to you. And yes, I say things like that to everyone. That's true. But when I said them to you, they felt different. They meant more. My heart knew what my brain was too slow to figure out. He stopped right in front of her. I was falling in love with you. Maybe from that first moment in the garden. Maybe gradually over all our talks. But I was falling, and it terrified me. So I pretended it wasn't happening. Tears were running down Yura's face now. In Valerian culture, crying in public was shameful. But she didn't wipe them away. You taught me that I could feel freely, Yura said, her voice shaking. You showed me that emotions weren't something to fear. And then you told me it was all meaningless. I was wrong, Jinho said. It wasn't meaningless. It was the most meaningful thing that's ever happened to me. And I'm sorry I was too scared to see it. What are you saying? Yura asked. I'm saying that when I called you sweetie, I meant it. When I called you dear, I meant it. Every smile, every laugh, every moment we spent together, I meant all of it. I just didn't understand my own heart until I almost lost you. The entire conclave was watching this personal moment, But Jinho didn't care. Neither did Yura. "You are a ship captain," Yura said. "I am a princess. Our cultures are different. Our worlds are different." "I know," Jinho said. "And it will be hard. Really hard. But that's what humans do. We try hard things. We bridge impossible gaps. We love across boundaries." He held out his hand to her. "I can't promise I won't make mistakes. I probably will. Humans mess up all the time. But I can promise I'll keep trying. I'll learn your culture. I'll be patient. I'll be honest about my feelings, even when it scares me." Yura looked at his hand. Then she looked at her father, who was sitting in the audience. The Emperor's face was unreadable. "If I take your hand," Yura said quietly, "I am choosing you over protocol, over tradition, over everything I was taught." "I know," Jinho said. "And I would never ask you to give up who you are. We can find a balance. Together." Yura smiled through her tears. Then she took his hand. The Emperor stood up. Every eye in the hall turned to him. He walked to the platform, where his daughter stood, holding hands with a human captain. For a long moment, he just looked at them. Then he spoke. "For 300 years, my daughter has been the perfect Valerian princess. Controlled, formal, without emotion. And for 300 years, I have watched her be lonely." Yura gasped. "Father, you think I did not notice?" The Emperor's voice was gentle. "You think I did not wish for you to feel joy? To laugh? To live? Instead of merely existing?" He turned to Jinho. "In 3 weeks, you gave my daughter what centuries of Valerian tradition could not. You gave her permission to feel." The Emperor placed one hand on Yura's shoulder and one on Jinho's. "I give my blessing. Not for politics, not for alliances, but because my daughter is happy." He addressed the conclave. "This is why humanity belongs among us. They remind us that we are alive. That feeling is not weakness, but strength. That love is not chaos, but connection." The arbiter stepped forward. One by one, the alien delegates voted. Some voted no, still uncertain about humanity, but most voted yes. They had seen something special today. Not just human courage, but human heart. "Humanity is accepted into the galactic community," the arbiter announced. Cheers erupted. Hana was crying. Teho was grinning. The other humans were celebrating. But Jinho only had eyes for Yura. "Hey, sweetie," he said softly. She laughed. That beautiful free laugh he loved. "Yes, dear." This time, they both knew exactly what it meant. 6 months after the conclave, the joint human-Valerian station was finally complete. It floated in the space between Earth and Valaria, a symbol of 2 cultures learning to work together. The station was called Harmony, and it was beautiful. Jinho stood in the main garden, watering plants. Some were from Earth, some from Valaria, and some from other alien worlds they had met. They all grew together in the artificial sunlight, different but thriving side by side. "You are talking to the plants again," Yura said, walking up behind him. She wore a mix of human and Valerian clothing now. A practical human jumpsuit with elegant Valerian silver threading. It suited her. "Of course I am," Jinho said with a grin. "How else will they know they're appreciated?" "Humans are so strange," Yura said, but she was smiling. She smiled often now. Jinho set down the watering can and pulled her close. "You love that I'm strange." "I do," she admitted. "Though my father still does not understand it." The Emperor had kept his word about blessing their relationship, but he was still adjusting. The idea of his daughter dating a human was one thing. The reality of watching her act so casually was another. Just last week, he had visited the station and found Yura wearing shorts and eating pizza. He had needed to sit down. "He'll get used to it," Jinho said. "Eventually. Perhaps in another 300 years," Yura joked. They had learned so much about each other over the past months. Jinho learned that Valerians experienced emotions far more intensely than humans, but had been taught to suppress them for survival. Their ancestors had nearly destroyed themselves in emotional wars before developing their strict control. Yura learned that humans experienced emotions constantly, but had somehow learned to live with the chaos. They fought, they cried, and they laughed, all without destroying each other. Most of the time, the new ambassadors arrived today, Yura reminded him. Right. Earth was sending more diplomats to learn from the Valarians, and Valaria was sending scholars to study humanity. The cultural exchange program that Jinho and Yura had designed together. Hana was leading the human side, teaching aliens about human biology and medicine. She had discovered that human medical improvisation was actually a valuable skill. Other species were too locked into their protocols. Humans tried new things. Teho was training security forces, teaching them that sometimes you had to break the rules to save lives. It was a controversial idea, but after the attack on Unity Station, people were listening, and Jinho and Yura were the bridge between worlds. They proved every day that different species could not just coexist but could love each other. Captain Jinho, Princess Yura, a voice called. It was Minho, one of the new human crew members. The ambassadors are docking now. They walked to the docking bay together. Jinho had learned to slow down for Yura's more formal pace. Yura had learned to tolerate Jinho's habit of waving at everyone they passed. The ambassadors emerged from their ships. Humans and Valarians, standing together nervously. They looked at Jinho and Yura, uncertain how to act. Welcome to Harmony Station, Jinho said warmly. We're so glad you're here. One of the Valerian ambassadors, a young woman named Nari, spoke hesitantly. Princess Yura, is it true that you and Captain Jinho are bonded? Yes, Yura said. Then she did something that made all the Valerians gasp. She took Jinho's hand openly. We are. But he is human, another Valerian said. How can you be so casual about it? Because he taught me that love does not need to be formal to be real, Yura said. And I taught him that feelings can be deep, even when they are quiet. A human ambassador, a woman named Unji, looked skeptical. But you're so different. How does it work? Jinho laughed. Honestly? Sometimes it doesn't. Last week, I made a joke, and Yura thought I was being serious. We had a whole argument about nothing, and 2 days ago, Yura tried to schedule a romantic date with a 17-point agenda. I had to explain that romance is supposed to be spontaneous. What he means, Yura said with dignity, is that we are learning, and sometimes learning is messy. But worth it, Jinho added, squeezing her hand. Over the next weeks, they taught the ambassadors. They showed them how to communicate across cultural gaps, how to laugh at misunderstandings instead of being offended, how to find common ground even when everything seemed different. Unji struggled with Valerian formality. She kept forgetting protocols and calling people by the wrong titles. But a Valerian ambassador named Quan helped her, patiently explaining the rules. Nari struggled with human casualness. She didn't understand why humans hugged so much, or why they were always laughing. But Minho showed her that laughter was how humans connected, how they showed they cared. Slowly, the ambassadors stopped seeing each other as aliens. They started seeing each other as people. One evening, Jinho found Yura in their quarters, looking at a hologram of the galaxy. About how big everything is, Yura said. There are millions of species out there, billions of worlds, and somehow, out of all of them, I found you. I think I found you, Jinho said. Or maybe you found a plant, and I happened to be there, Yura teased. Jinho laughed and pulled her into his arms. Best mistake I ever made. It was not a mistake, Yura said, serious now. It was fate. It had to be. What are the chances that we would meet at exactly the right moment? That I would hear exactly the right words to open my heart? That you would be brave enough to admit your feelings in front of the entire galaxy? Pretty small chances, Jinho admitted. Exactly. So it must have been meant to be. Jinho kissed her forehead. Whether it was fate, or luck, or pure coincidence, I'm grateful for it. They stood together, looking at the galaxy, thinking about all the other species out there. Other beings who were different, and strange, and wonderful. Other love stories waiting to happen. A message came through on the communication system. It was from Earth. Jinho's mother wanted to video call. She did this every week, always asking when she would meet her future daughter-in-law in person. Your mother is persistent, Yura said. She's excited, Jinho said. My whole family is. They can't wait to meet you. I am nervous, Yura admitted. What if they do not like me? They'll love you. My mom already thinks you're too good for me. She's probably right, Yura smiled. What if I do something wrong? What if I am too formal, or too stiff, or… Jinho stopped her with a kiss. You'll be perfect. Just be yourself. That's all anyone can ask. They answered the call together. Jinho's mother appeared on the screen, and her face lit up when she saw them. There's my boy. And the princess. She was practically bouncing with excitement. Yura, darling, you look beautiful. I've been making kimchi for when you visit. Jinho says you like spicy food. I am learning to appreciate it, Yura said carefully. Then she added, Thank you, Mother Jinho. Jinho's mother squealed. She called me mother. Oh, this is wonderful. When are you coming to Earth? The whole family wants to meet you. And we need to plan the wedding. Have you thought about the wedding? Mom, we're taking things slow, Jinho protested. Slow. You announced your love in front of the entire galaxy. That's not slow, Yura laughed. It was a free, genuine laugh. Your mother is right. We are not very good at being slow. The call lasted an hour, with Jinho's mother asking a million questions, and Yura answering each one with growing comfort. By the end, they were chatting like old friends. After they hung up, Yura looked thoughtful. Your family is very warm, too warm sometimes, Jinho said. I hope they weren't overwhelming. No. It was nice. My family is very formal, very proper. But yours is full of life. They're going to adopt you completely, Jinho warned. Once you meet them in person, you'll never escape. Sunday dinners, holiday celebrations, random visits. That sounds wonderful, Yura said softly. Later that night, they returned to the garden. It had become their special place, where everything had started. The plants were growing well. Human and alien species thriving together. Jinho picked up the watering can. Hey, sweetie, he said to a small blue flower from Valaria. Looking good today. Yura watched him, her heart full. This strange, wonderful human who talked to plants and wore his heart on his sleeve. Who had changed her entire world with 3 casual words. Hey, sweetie, she said, trying out the phrase. Jinho looked up, grinning. Are you talking to the plants now? No, Yura said, walking to him. I am talking to you. Yeah? Jinho set down the watering can and pulled her close. What do you want to say? That I love you. That you changed my life. That I am grateful every day for that misunderstanding in the garden. It wasn't really a misunderstanding, though, was it? Jinho said. I think my heart knew before my brain did. I think I was talking to you through that plant. Perhaps, Yura said. Or perhaps the plant was a matchmaker. They laughed together, standing in their garden while the station rotated slowly through space. Outside the windows, both Earth and Valaria were visible. 2 worlds that had seemed so different, but were learning to be family. Hey, sweetie, Jinho whispered. Yes, dear, Yura whispered back. And somewhere in the galaxy, other species were watching humanity with new eyes, watching these strange, emotional, wonderful beings who talked to plants and fell in love with alien princesses and somehow made it all work. Humanity had joined the galactic community not as warriors or geniuses, but as the species who remembered what really mattered. Connection, warmth, love, and maybe, just maybe, that was the most important thing of all.